San Fermin. The world knows it for running of the bulls. Chaos, courage, and of course, controversy. But in visiting Pamplona, I realized that's only part of the story. Behind the adrenaline, there's devotion, history, and a week where the city forgets how to sleep. I came here expecting a spectacle, but what I found was a celebration that pulls everyone in. Locals, families, and travelers, all into one shared heartbeat. I'd heard of San Fermin for years, but what most people don't realize is that it's not just about running with the bulls. It's a festival honoring Saint Fermin, Pamplona's patron saint, whose story goes back centuries. The white clothes represent purity, the red scarf, his martyrdom. But here, those colors also mean joy, unity, and identity. I wanted to feel it for myself, so I bought a train ticket and I headed off on an adventure. I left Barcelona late that morning, heading north to Pamplona. I didn't know what I was stepping into, only that I was on my way to one of the wildest festivals in the world.
So I'm on my way to Pamplona. I'm taking one of the bigger trains for the first time, and I went to the station. I got there a little early, and I was a little confused. The guy's like, "Give me a second." He takes my ticket, walks away, is doing some random things. He comes back, he gives me a ticket, and he had added a seat. He's like, "Here, I gave you a really good seat."
It's just me in here, me and my Coke Zero.
So the guy checking my tickets for this train just came in and it's like, "Do you know where you are?" I'm like thinking, "Oh crap, did I get onto the wrong train?" He's like, "You're somewhere very special. This is the presidential suite." And I'm like, how the hell did I get like this presidential suite to myself?
Somehow, I ended up completely alone in what they called the presidential suite. Air conditioning, a full cabin to myself. Not a bad way to start San Fermin. The journey wasn't a straight shot though. I had to switch trains in Zaragoza. An hour-long layover where the pace suddenly slowed. I relaxed, people watched, and I tried to imagine what Pamplona would be like once I got there. After one more train ride, I made it to my destination. I immediately started noticing more people dressed in red and white. You could tell, almost everyone on board was headed for the same thing. I caught a quick taxi ride, but I couldn't get into the city center. The streets were already blocked off. So I got out at the edge of town and I walked in the rest of the way. At first, it felt almost eerie. The further I walked, the more red and white I started to see. People sparsely scattered on the streets, the hum of voices somewhere deeper in the city. It was still quiet though, like the whole place was still catching its breath. You could feel something building, the calm before the storm. Before long, I joined in. I traded my travel clothes for the festival whites and red scarf. The moment you put it on, you stop feeling like an outsider. Suddenly, you're part of something bigger. Once I changed into the festival whites, I headed out to explore. Every street I turned down was alive. Red and white everywhere. Bands echoing through the alleys, people laughing, singing, drinking, all at once. The energy kept building with every block. I met up with my friend Taylor, someone I'd met in Barcelona, and we kept wandering. Around every corner, another band, another crowd, another spontaneous parade. By 8 p.m., Plaza Consistorial was overflowing. Scarves waving, people chanting, music from every direction. It felt like the whole city was vibrating at once. As the sun started to set, we hiked up to a mirador, a viewpoint. From there, the city glowed orange against the storm clouds, mountains in the distance. We took a breather from the crowds, chatted for a bit, and took pictures while taking it in. And off in the distance, we noticed bullpens. Quiet now, but tomorrow morning, the first run would start from here. Even from up here, you could see one, pacing behind the fence, waiting. After dark, the city changed again. Small stages appeared everywhere. On one, an all-girl rock band was playing, and I think it was in Basque. Coming from Barcelona, it was amazing to see how each region of Spain has its own rhythm, its own pulse. Further out, we stumbled onto a fair. Neon lights cutting through the dark with more pops of red and white. It honestly felt like a county fair back home, the kind I grew up with in the Midwest. Just swap out country music for some reggaeton and crank up the chaos a notch. I stayed there for a while just people watching, laughing my ass off at this giant metal cage that swung kids back and forth like a human pendulum, and a circle of mini mechanical bulls that spun tiny riders around until they fell off, giggling dizzy. It was hilarious. It is pure, ridiculous joy. The kind of unfiltered fun that makes you forget what time it is. And then, the sky cracked open. Every night during San Fermin, they end the day with fireworks. And not just any fireworks, full-blown synchronized chaos lighting up the entire skyline. You could see bursts explode over the old city, echoing off the hills while people cheered below. We wandered through the city streets trying to find a good spot to catch the show. We just stood there, thinking that this was the culmination of the day, but we were wrong. When we made our way back to the center, the families were gone, and it was pure madness. The plaza was even more packed, with more drunk people singing and dancing. Bands on the move, people singing at the top of their lungs, the streets were shaking with music. And, of course, we joined. We just followed where the chaos took us. We eventually made it to Plaza del Castillo, where we found a giant stage with more musicians that were playing. There was this moment, standing there in the middle of it all, when I realized what makes San Fermin special. It's the feeling that everyone, locals, travelers, friends, strangers, is part of the same heartbeat. And tomorrow at dawn, the city would trade singing for silence, and the streets would belong to the runners. By sunrise, Pamplona felt like a different city. The singing was gone, replaced by steady, focused calm. People wandered the barricades, slowly waking up. I caught a group of chestularis, Basque flute and drum players, drifting down the route. It doesn't start the run, that's the rockets, but it tunes up the morning to tradition. I'd booked a balcony, pricey, but the perspective is unmatched. From here, I could see the street and Dead Man's Corner, the turn where speed meets slick stone. I'd love to say I was above a historic cafe, but no. Burger King. Peak American abroad energy. But hey, the view was elite. Crews came through first, cleaning the course to make sure it was safe as possible for the runners. Next, the sweep. Police cleared onlookers who weren't running and emptied the course. Once the route was clean, runners were held behind a second line of officers, cheering, bouncing, energy rising. Then, they were released to enter the course. A mix of locals and foreigners. Some walking, some jogging, staking out their positions. The veterans were easy to spot. Stretching, preparing. Others were here for the story, buzzing with nerves. As they settled, officers stayed in the crowd, scanning faces and pulling anyone who looked intoxicated, underage, or that were filming with their phones. 8 a.m. The first rocket goes off, letting the runners know that the bulls have been released. They bounce in anticipation. Moments later, a second rocket. The bulls are now on the street. Anxiety raises. Hearts beat faster. The moment we've all been waiting for. The herd arrives, charging in a fury. And just like that, it's over. Minutes later, paramedics are helping the injured. And the TV behind us was already breaking it down in slow-mo. By 8:10, Pamplona exhales. The restaurants clink to wake, and the city resets. By afternoon, Pamplona woke up to a softer rhythm. The city's pulse had shifted. Not back to chaos, but to tradition. San Fermin isn't just about the runs. It's also the sound of castanets in the street. It's the snaps of drums, the families weaving through history like a second nature. I walk through various musical groups, listening to drumlines as they pass. I felt like the city was showing me who it was. As the day moves on, the streets fill again. Above one street, a salsa band played in the balcony. The kind of random magic this week was full of. And everywhere you look is another dance floor. No agenda, just strangers letting the day carry them. And when the night comes back around, the parties return too. Not to repeat yesterday, but to carry the rhythm forward. I came to Pamplona for the legend, the rockets, the run. But I learned that San Fermin isn't just about running. It's about belonging to a tradition, a city, even if it's just for one night. San Fermin is louder than you'd expect, and somehow more human too. If you felt this, like the video and subscribe for the next chapter. I'm sharing what it was like to live in Spain and the wild detours along the way.